Good morning and welcome to our session, The Death of Formats, Are Formats Dead? My name is Andrea Zimmermann and I'm from Munich, Germany, from Storyhouse Productions. And when back home in Germany, Documentary Campus asked me if I would like to host this session, I felt very honored, but at the same time I was a bit scared because of the title. Because if you work in development, the death of a format is a simple nightmare. And you don't really like to talk about it. And so my concern was who will be the speakers on my panel. Who is really willing to talk openly about disappointment or failure in the market? And who would give us information that you normally don't get in official press conferences? So like an inside look. And I'm happy to say that all the speakers I asked came, and I'm really curious to hear what they say about their point of view. And I feel we are more like in an emergency room. This is more like an emergency room team, because all those speakers here are involved in the death and survival of formats, and they will reveal how to predict a format's downfall, how to distinguish when a project is truly in danger, and they know how they reshaped the genre to keep the format alive. And I'm very happy to welcome Sarah Thornton from Discovery Networks UK and Europe, Head of Production and Development, Lifestyle and Entertainment. Sarah directed the Rose d'Or nominated episode of Pineapple Dance Studios, and she produced various BBC shows, including Undercover Dads. Then we have Florian Falkenstein, Senior Vice President Factual at Pro7 Sat.1 TV Germany. And Florian is responsible for documentaries, factual events, and docutainment. And then we have Jonathan Hughes, Deputy Chief Executive and Head of International of Wall to Wall. Awards and nominations for productions he has produced include Academy Awards for Best Documentary, BAFTA for Outstanding British Film, and International Emmy, and many, many more. And one speaker is missing. Olaf Grunert from Arte would have loved to join us, but for personal reason he can't attend the festival. And so unfortunately he can't be here. And Sarah, I would like to ask you about, because you at Discover Europe, I guess you're an expert of survival of the fittest. Do you have nightmares when you think about your formats, how they run, or is everything calm and stable at the moment?
Nothing is ever calm and stable at Discovery. There's a lot of debate internally about how applicable formats are. I'm speaking from a lifestyle point of view. Obviously, I cover the most well-known of our channels. But I think for me, bottom line is formats do work, and it's what form they take for us. But it's definitely not something that we don't talk about. I wouldn't say it keeps us up at night, but there's a lot of debate.
Mm-hmm. So what are your latest experiences with working formats? And you said you rechanged them, or formats that are running and that are successful. Is there a certain recipe?
I mean, I would say that at the moment, it could seem like formats are dead. You know, there are shows like Gypsy Weddings, One Born Every Minute, The Only Way is Essex, in the US, American Pickers, Porn Stars, Gold Rush. It sort of feels like observational documentary is ruling. But for all of those, I think there are just as many formats that you know, we wish we had. Very Job Mother, Embarrassing Bodies, and I think it's kind of dangerous to assume that just because a show has the form of an obs doc, that's all it is. I think formats have really, the kind of golden era of formats has really changed the way we approach all program making. And I think if you look at almost everything that is in our output, there is a format there, you know, in whatever way you want to read it.
And you told me that there are developments that are like streamed, or like for example, your shows that you have from the US, that you have experiences, what is working. Can you predict something? I mean, when you see a show or a concept, do you know what is working from the beginning, or how does that work?
Always. No, and if I did, I would be a very rich woman. I mean, I think, you know, as you develop shows, you definitely feel whether or not it has a bit of a magic. But whether I believe something has a bit of magic and will resonate doesn't necessarily translate to a success for the channel. I think, you know, a really good example of what's working for us at the moment is a show called Cake Boss. It's huge for TLC in the US. On all our channels across Europe, it's doing incredible numbers. It's an observational documentary set in a New York cake shop run by a baker called Buddy and his fiery Italian family, including his sister Mary, who's a pain in the arse, according to Buddy. With this show, we're constantly mystified by its success, not because we don't like it, but because it keeps going from strength to strength, and really it is a very simple little show. This is one that I was kind of going to focus on a bit today because while in theory it's an observational documentary, I feel that it's a really good example of something I touched on earlier, which is this whole idea of, you know, what is a format? Do you need a really clear format beat every 5 minutes, someone showing up with an envelope full of instructions, Tyra Banks eliminating someone to call a show a format? Or is it just that, you know, we stick to a narrative arc and a structure in every episode? And I might show a clip actually at this point. I conducted a little bit of an experiment and it was under test conditions. I took 2 episodes of our show Cake Boss and went to exactly the same time code on each. So I've got 2 clips. I won't say anything more about them, but it'd be interesting. I think it was a very interesting thing to see what happened at exactly the same point in very different shows of what is ostensibly not a format. There's a little intro from Buddy first to let you know what the show is. A hand with a cross over it doesn't look good. Incidentally, I've had some of Buddy's cakes and they're not great. So if they're making you hungry when you watch, don't. Okay, we'll come back to my experiment. I guess I sort of feel like formats need to be defended. I think they've got a bit of bad press at the moment. And I think one of the things that formats have done is they've kind of reminded us as program makers to make a promise to the viewer from the start. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you can see the influence of that in all types of program making, not just heavily formatted shows, not just lifestyle shows, but factual shows as well. And one of the kind of formats that we've been investing in across Europe quite heavily is Don't Tell the Bride from Renegade. And I think one of the things that that show does is it kind of moves the format on. It's very, it's very admittedly a format, it's out and proud, but it combines formatted beats and obstock in a way that I think is far more modern than, say, Wife Swap, where you have rules and things to follow. This looks more hopeful. No, it doesn't.
This is Carlo's Bakery. Every week, thousands of cakes and pastries go out these doors. This is the crew, Mia Familia. We're gonna take this bakery to the top. They call me Buddy. I'm the boss.
They got that sponge in the oven, right? The sponge is not in the oven. Why not? Because the oven is not hot. I know. Why didn't you turn it on? I did. I turned it on. Why did you turn it on? 15 minutes ago? I turned it on about an hour ago, actually. Sally, you turned it on an hour ago? You're good. Okay. Totally hot. It's no good. It's a big big problem. I think it's finally gone, so I'm gonna talk to Buddy, try and see what he said.
The thing is broke.
All I know is these ovens now they're not getting hot. Before the shells were cooking, now they're not getting hot.
What do you mean they're not getting hot? So Joey calls me in the oven room, and he starts complaining about the ovens.
Yeah, but I can't keep up with this stuff without an oven that works.
For the last month, these ovens have been breaking down constantly. We have 2 ovens at Carlos Bakery.
Yeah, I have this one at least.
Okay, what are you gonna do?
One oven goes down, the production gets cut in half. You do the math.
I'm gonna have to call somebody. You know, I don't know what to tell you.
So no acting there, all genuine observational documentary. If you keep playing, actually, it goes straight to the next clip.
Now comes the fun part. Each week, these guys...
Not this clip.
Now it's time.
Pam is obviously out of her element.
Sorry, this is a different show. It's Cake Boss at the top.
This is Carlos Bakery.
It's definitely not this one. If Buddy turns up on this scene, I'll be very confused. All my shows are turning into one.
Now comes the fun part. Each week, these guys are going to have to make a cake for me. And the worst competitor is going to be...
No. Sorry, it's the first one you showed, but it needed to keep playing. Are you able to scroll through it?
With facial hair,
Sorry for that. Buddy's sister.
This is Carlos Bakery. Every week, thousands of cakes and pastries go out these doors.
Are you able to fast forward it all?
Through Mia Familia. Where the...
Here we go. Or you could watch it all over again. When it goes to black, hit play. That's it.
One of our
This
biggest
is the next
Christmas traditions
episode.
at Carlos Bakery is our delicious cookie trays. We make all kinds of cookies. Icebox, Carlos, figs, long jelly, round jellies, hazelnut, and we pile them up on a tray. I mean, now that's Christmas.
This is all
These you're gonna use the chocolate.
Yeah, so we gotta get, where's the round ones with the nuts or the round ones? That's the one we don't have.
That's the one we don't
Did you
have.
check in the back?
No, they said there is none. They said to substitute it for another cookie.
Substitute? What am I gonna substitute it? Right, well, we have to. Be nice.
Mary.
I have a problem. Where are the Carlos cookies? The round ones with the nuts or the sprinkles?
There, you gotta look.
I gotta look. There's none. They're telling me that there's none. So I have to make trays. How am I gonna make trays? So what am I supposed to do till then?
Look pretty in the store.
All we're doing is making cookies. They gotta stop bothering us. We need to work.
I go by my list every year of how much we make.
Yeah, but I know what I have to do. How come you don't know what you have to do?
I know what I have.
Make the cookies.
The round ones with the nuts on are very good compared to the rest. And I know exactly the same thing didn't happen at exactly the same time code, but it seems like a bit more than a coincidence to me that at the same point in both shows, something went wrong in the kitchen. And I guess my point is, you know, we're sort of claiming this isn't a format because formats are maybe a bit out of fashion, but if we're honest, it is. And I think that, you know, a show like Cake Boss delivers on a promise week in, week out, just the way something like Wife Swap did. This show has been incredibly successful for us, and we believe that Buddy was the key ingredient. So we gave him another format called Next Great Baker. This one much more clearly a format. I think you can probably tell what it is from the name, and I've got a small clip from that, which is labelled Next Great Baker. And is not this. You're never going to see this one. It's great though. It's also not this.
with facial hair,
You're just teasing.
That's all I want to show of those.
Now comes the fun part.
Yeah.
Each week, these guys are going to have to make a cake for me. And the worst competitor is going to be eliminated. Now it's time a judge to help me judge this competition. She's a real pain in the ass. My sister Mary.
Not only do I have to impress Buddy, but I have to impress Mary. And I totes feel the pressure.
This is the one, baby. This is gonna make you or break you. 9 hours, it's go time. I wanna see what these bakers will come up with under serious time pressure.
I'm looking around at everybody and I'm watching, and Pam, I have no idea what's going on there. I don't even know what it is. It looks like a spaceship. I have no idea what that's gonna be. All I know is that there is gold everywhere.
Well, it's been nice knowing you guys. I knew, I just knew it was not going to be up to par, not even to amateur status. Oh, that's a huge gap.
Pam is obviously out of her element.
I'm thinking in my head, I'm never gonna pull this together. I mean, the gold point, I didn't have time to color the entire point to make it look real. I hate my cake. Honey.
Hi, Pip.
How are you? My celebration cake is Chinese New Year.
Is it a big fortune cookie?
It's a big gold nugget. I am pretty embarrassed when I start looking at all the details on this cake.
Okay, let's taste the cake now.
I mean, there is rookie mistakes everywhere.
There's a piece of tinfoil in mine.
You know, it could have turned out better.
Okay. Kendra, you had a long day, huh?
Yeah, I sure did.
But you fought through it.
Yes, I did. Today was one of those days where it just didn't work out.
Cake's not bad. To be honest with you, the sponge is a little dry.
I finished last. In my eyes, I did.
So this isn't the only competition format that really hasn't worked for us. What is working are obstacles like Cake Boss. We've got another one called Sister Wives, which is about a man with 3 wives looking for number 4. And Toddlers and Tiaras, which is about child pageants and has gone quite viral for us in the States. But time and time again, we've tried sort of more formatted shows, and they don't really work. For Weddings has worked, but not as a kind of breakout success like the others. And I guess it's just that our viewers, I think, especially as Discovery, our viewers expect something that feels a bit more factual. Whether it is or not is irrelevant. You know, while that's fine, it doesn't mean that we're not going to sort of play with formats. I think, you know, like I said, Don't Tell the Bride is rolling out in a number of territories for us. And in the UK, what we're really looking for are returnable series, shows that are easy for viewers to identify quickly before they change the channel. And so a format promise is really useful. I have got another clip to show you. It's from a show called My Naked Secret, which we're making with Maverick. And it is a formatted Obstock series. And what I'm really pleased with about it is it's very formatted, it has very clear format beats, but it's incredibly flexible. And each episode feels very unique and distinct and really allows the character of the individual contributors in it to come out. It's about people who have body secrets. And if we could go with Marina.
This is Carlo's Bakery.
Guess what Buddy's is?
Now comes the fun part.
You'll never know. I reckon it's going to be this one.
With facial hair, I do feel like a freak. When I look in the mirror, I just feel inadequate as a woman. I conceal my facial hairs with a scarf and my extra thick makeup. It is my armour and it protects me. It feels as if I'm touching a man's face. to me, it is a disability. It feels as if I'm never going to be able to live a normal life. I just want to feel free of it. It's made me feel as if I am a man, but I know deep down inside I'm a woman that's waiting to come out, to be free, to sparkle, to shine. I am a woman. Last time I felt that I wasn't a proper woman. When I look in the mirror now, I feel like a whole, happy woman. To touch my face, it feels amazing. Before, I had to wear scarves, but now I don't wrap them around my face. I have definitely found Sharon for the first time in my life. I just feel alive. It's changed my life, and it's changed my life for the better. It's the first time in my life that I can actually look at the mirror and say that you are beautiful. Yeah.
And I guess just finally, I think, you know, like everything, we're kind of subject to fashion in television. And at the moment, it's not particularly fashionable, to be honest, that there is a format. But I think saying formats are dead is a bit like saying skinny jeans are dead or black is the new white, you know. And if that's the case, we're all going to have to go shopping pretty damn quick, myself included.
Just one question. If you could recommend for producers or filmmakers, when they look for new formats they would like to pitch, what should they focus on for formats that are working for you right now?
I think for us, it needs to be something that brings out personality, whether it's the personality of someone like Buddy or the personality of episodic contributors like in My Naked Secret. For us, we need genuine stories. There needs to be a real purpose for being there, whether it's to bake cakes in a business and there's real jeopardy of getting the cakes out, or whether it's that someone genuinely has something that is affecting their lives. In terms of the kind of genre we're looking at, it's anything, I mean, it's your traditional lifestyle genres, food, medical, makeover, weddings, but not really hosted ever at the moment, and like I said, in areas where there is something that's genuinely going on.
Thank you, Sarah. Florian, you're also working in
There's a question.
Yeah. Hi.
This show, are you scheduling across all territories My Naked Secret?
Yes. Yes, so it will launch in the UK and then it will roll out in the US and Europe and Asia.
And how many episodes for the first?
12. They're half hours.
Amazing.
Maverick.
We can also have some question and answers in the end if you prefer, or yeah. Florian, you're also working in a highly competitive market in Germany, and your channel is dependent on functional formats. And I'm not sure if our audience is familiar with the German market. Maybe it's helpful if you could explain us a bit and give us information about channel and the formats that are working or not working for you.
Yes, sure. Thanks a lot for this invitation, by the way. Well, indeed, I don't know how much you know about the German market. it's a hell of a market because we have. I have counted that recently on my home TV. I have, I think, about 100 free-to-air channels just with my normal digital receiver. If you subtract all these home shopping channels and stuff like that, or special interest channels, there still remain about 20-25 full program channels, and the main players are like 10-12 channels free to air for everyone 24 hours a day. We have actually three big players in the market. There is the public TV, with enormous budgets and a good market share. There is the RTL group, and there is the ProSieben Sat.1 group, which I am working for. The ProSieben Sat.1 group has 4 major channels: ProSieben, Sat.1 and Kabel 1, and a minor player 6, which is a women's program. I have written down some of the key facts concerning these channels. If you're interested in, I won't explain too much about it. But in general, you're very right. Formats are crucial for us. Formats for the audience mean orientation, mean a promise. They get on a daily or regular basis. And so we are really concerned about dying formats, and we do everything against it. As it is a little bit difficult to explain the whole market or the whole networks I'm working for, I will just focus on one example. This is a show run by the ProSieben network, and it's a show which is on since a decade. It started as a daily science magazine show called Galileo. And Galileo is a real success story, and for me a good example how formats can be developed relatively risk-free and can also be like the core promise of our whole network. Maybe we have a look at the DVD first, because it explains a lot and gives me a 13-minute break. So, please.
On November 30th, 1998, the big day had arrived. The first edition of the ProSieben knowledge program Galileo went on the air. Watch, marvel, understand. That was the optimistic promise. The whole show was presented by the still very young host, Ayman Abdallah.
Herzlich willkommen, liebe Zuschauer, zur Premiere von Galileo. Ab heute sind wir immer von Montag bis Freitag für Sie da, und wir möchten Sie jeden Abend mit faszinierenden Phänomenen, außergewöhnlichen Geschichten und aufregenden Bildern unterhalten und verblüffen.
Now, a good 12 years later, Galileo is still on the air.
Und damit herzlich willkommen, liebe Zuschauer, hier bei Galileo.
Today as well, we explain the whole world to our viewers. We take a look behind the scenes, find facts worth knowing in all areas. We explore everything, as of recently even in our own category. Galileo Today, a box full of miracles with constant new and surprising content and new looks.
An Spitzentagen bedecken die Besucher mit ihren Handtüchern 8000 Quadratmeter. Gerade einmal 10% der kompletten Liegefläche in diesem Bad.
Although we're a private broadcaster, we also take the educational mission very seriously. History made easy in modern packaging.
Dieser Mann ging in die Geschichte ein. Bis heute fasziniert er die Welt. Lange Zeit galt er als perfekter Staatsmann. Aber er verbarg auch so manches dunkle Geheimnis. Um wen es sich handelt?
We present knowledge in a completely new form. Facts to pass along.
Wasserabweisend und atmungsaktiv. Gepolstert und isoliert. Mit eingebauter Klimaanlage und selbstheilend. Hauchdünn und perfekt auf den Leib geschneidert. Den besten Mantel der Welt tragen wir jeden Tag. Unsere Haut. Mit einer durchschnittlichen Größe von 2 Quadratmetern hat sie die Maße einer Matratze und trägt somit den Titel größtes Organ des Menschen.
And And it's a huge hit. An average of 14% of the 14 to 48 target age group tunes in 6 times a week and finally learns the right way to cut vegetables. Because that too is knowledge. That too is Galileo. We're international. Our reporters travel all over the world, always hot on the trail of the story.
Im Nebel über die wohl gefährlichste Straße der Welt. Mission-Wissen-Reporter Harry Füllgrabe testet die spektakulärsten Strecken der Welt.
And we're a big success. Since 2006, there is also the successful spin-off, Galileo Special. With ratings of over 30%, the special editions number among the outstanding program highlights, such as the special on the history of crime fighting, with fascinating facts and fantastic shots.
Herzlich willkommen zur bildgewaltigsten Show im deutschen Fernsehen. Willkommen bei Galileo Big Pictures.
It's been on the air 4 times a year since 2009. 3 hours of primetime entertainment.
Herzlich willkommen zu einer aufregenden Expedition. Unser Ziel, der blaue Planet. Unsere Route, überall dorthin, wo wir gebannt den Atem anhalten. Unsere Mission, wir suchen das beste Galileo Big Picture der Welt.
And since November, there's now a new member in the big Galileo family. Experience. We explain why allegedly inexplicable phenomena can, in the final analysis, be scientifically clarified.
Ich habe mich wie wahnsinnig gedreht, mit dem Schirm gekämpft, wollte herausfinden, was es war. Ich hatte Angst um mein Leben. Ich dachte, ich hätte keine Chance.
Ein Mann filmt, wie er aus 4500 Metern in die Tiefe fällt, fast ungebremst. Das Erstaunliche, er überlebt.
But in the daily magazine show, we also tell the most extraordinary stories about quails in the mafia prison, for instance.
Doch dieser italienische Wachtelknast ist ein Knast im Knast. Ein ganz besonderes Beschäftigungsprogramm für Schwerverbrecher der italienischen Mafia. Zum Beispiel für den wegen bewaffneten Raubüberfalls zu 15 Jahren verurteilten Ivan. Oder den wegen Mordes verurteilten Saimir. Diese beiden Häftlinge versorgen die Wachteln. 2 Insassen im größten Mafiaknast der Welt in Mailand, genannt Opera. Ein Hochsicherheitsgefängnis für 1300 Gefangene. Unter ihnen sogar hochrangige Mafiabosse. Die sitzen allerdings in Isolationshaft. Wir dürfen noch nicht einmal das Gebäude auf dem Gefängnisgelände filmen, in dem sie leben. Keiner soll den genauen Standort kennen.
Galileo goes along with unusual people on their mission.
Es gibt keine Absicherung, kein Fangnetz. Kimina und Kimberly sind zum Warten verdammt. Über Funk bekommt Freddy seinen Standort.
Die Strecke von gestern hat er geschafft. Sie war einfach bei dem Weg, was er gekommen ist.
But we also take life from its lighter side, with decorating tips of a very special kind.
Jetzt können unsere Gäste kommen. Ja, und jetzt Fete.
So there are several more examples to come about the different topics and the involvement of formats out of this daily magazine show. For us, as I said, it's relatively risk-free actually to try out topics, to try out protagonists, new ideas in the show, and as soon as we see they work, we slowly start with a format. That is actually our recipe for successful formatting.
And it's also kind of an anti-aging program, because I know your audience is quite young, and so Galileo survived for 10 years now, or more than
12 years already,
yeah.
Yes. Indeed, yes it is. We had major crisis with these formats. It started like, we did mainly stories on industrial productions. So like I don't know, how is a gummy bear made or whatever, and after years of successful programming this kind of topics, suddenly the audience stopped liking it. So we had to reinvent ourselves, and we did by introducing new ideas like the major or the basic idea that actually science is much more than only basic science information. It's maybe knowledge. So we came across the thought, maybe how to make the perfect apple pie is a good knowledge point, and we started like working out ideas like this, and it worked.
Mm-hmm. And when we met before the session, you told me at the channel, well, you're not afraid of the death of formats, because you think it's sometimes essential that formats die, because when their life cycle is over...
Yes, indeed. I think we have some major reasons why formats die. I wrote them down here, like copy skill, that is something most of you have probably already experienced. In a market like in Germany, the competitors always look at your products, and as soon as they see a chance to copy it, they do it. So the more copies we have, the sooner the formats die. It's also about the issues. So I called it narrow dies faster. The more the more pointed your idea about the format is, the sooner it will die. We had an example with a very successful show, also developing out of Galileo Mystery, which was about clearing up the big secrets of this world. Well, after about 40 secrets, we had no more secrets to tell, so it was like over, And the third reason is nervousness is life-threatening, and believe me, TV people are, especially in the commercial sector, are quite nervous. So I think that some of our decisions were made too fast, and we closed down a format too early. But this is like a major problem we will never solve. How we survived, how we can make a format survive is actually, in the beginning, start quiet and carefully. That is what I just told you before. Start a new idea in a format. Don't start with a big bang, but start it slowly, so you can find out what exactly does the audience like with this idea and what's not. We start formats now much more seldom than before, so we try to make it first of all an event 2, 3, 4 times a year, and not to shoot out like with a machine gun. And then in the end we try to develop successful sub-brands, which mean we have a general promise, like the example I've shown before with Galileo. People know what is Galileo, they know the host, they know the formal attitudes of this brand. And so if you develop out of this new ideas, it's easier for the audience to accept them.
And do you have any tendencies for the future that you would say are the next working formats for your channel? Is it more like a host and character-driven story, or is it more...
Characters are crucial, definitely, yes. If producers pitch ideas now at the channels, we always ask first for casting tapes for protagonists, and because I think it's more character-driven than ever before.
And this is sometimes very close to an observational documentary again, because
indeed it is, yes.
And you had some examples where they could work, characters could also work in a documentary, a classical documentary, but then they had the chance to be in a format. But then how strict is the format Bible at your channel? Are you loosening that up, or how?
Actually, yes, we do indeed, because the times, I think, are a little bit over, where you like have every shot written down in a format Bible. Give the producer the chance to develop in time. That means don't wait until the audience decides, but just give the program the space to develop. That is actually a crucial experience in our group.
And you can be very experimental, as you said, with Galileo, for example, to try new things, be innovative without shocking the audience and losing it. Because, as we said, the competitive market is you're dependent on your audience more than, for example, Olaf Kronert would have been with a public TV station who is subsidized, and so. But for you, it's the market, and that's important.
Half a point less market share means the death of a format. Yeah.
And Jonathan, you have a lot of working formats with on a high standard. When I hear the name Wall to Wall, I think about extremely innovative and successful and award-winning formats and documentaries. And I think the title of the show, The Death of Formats, doesn't affect you so much, because it seems that your formats have an extremely good DNA and survive anything. Is that true?
It'd be nice if it was. Yeah, I'm not sure. We do some shows that we've been able to sell as formats, and that's the format has become an almost meaningless word because it's become so elastic, you know. And of course, the reason that we, or a production company, wants a show to be a format is a very basic reason. Is if it's a format, we can sell it. If it's a doc soap, or if it's a magazine show, or an observational documentary, we can't sell that to another territory. If it's a format, hey, we can sell it. Clearly, all factual programs have become much more formatted. I think you were talking about that, and that seems to me that's about the promise or predictability. You know, and there's a predictability for the producers, the program makers, the channel, the viewers, and you know, by and large, probably the only people who really don't like predictability are documentary filmmakers. And there's a tension there about how do you keep a show fresh and surprising when it's a format and it's got beats and things happen. I mean, to be honest, I don't think we've ever really successfully developed a format when we've been trying to develop a format. We've developed some formatted shows that have played reasonably, but our big successes have been accidental. I mean, if we could show the first clip, this is our best known show. Factual show.
This season on Who Do You Think You Are? 7 of the world's most beloved celebrities will embark on life-altering journeys into their family history. They will travel the world in search of their heritage. Family mysteries will be revealed.
I had always thought she was dead.
There's only known picture of him.
That's the only known picture.
That was the last I ever saw him. He disappeared.
How absolutely terrifying.
While the past can never be repeated, it can be uncovered.
Oh my God.
This is a story that's getting good.
Yes. He was part of the gold rush?
Gettysburg? Gettysburg.
That's history right there.
It sure is.
Lives will be changed.
My name is Lisa Kudrow, and I think we're related.
Roots will be discovered.
You're on the spot where your grandfather was 91 years ago. Amazing, it's incredible.
So, Who Do You Think You Are? It's the first American season. We didn't develop Who Do You Think You Are as a format. We developed it as a big, well, it was a time when BBC Two were doing very big 10-part definitional series. And the reason it became a format was because it was so successful that we got a second season and a third season, and we're now on season 8. Does it look like a format? No, there isn't a winner. There's not a competition. It's what you probably call a soft format. Beneath the surface, there are a lot of formatted points. There's a lot of sort of invisible detail about how the information is given to the celebrities, how the story is structured. But it's not overt on the face of it. To be honest, compared to a lot of what Wall to Wall has done, it looked like a very classic, old-fashioned, presenter-led documentary. It's quite a slow-paced show. It's much slower than most of the programs we make. So the point with that format was that it didn't look like a format. You know, it was a repeatable franchise, but it wasn't a wife swap or a constructed competition. And you know, I think when we made the first series and it was so successful and it came back, we thought, this is great, we can sell this, and where are we going to sell it to first? We'll sell it to America because it's a nation of immigrants, and it took us about 6 years for various reasons to get it away in America, but we got it away on a network, on NBC, which is sort of extraordinary that NBC, one of the 4 big networks, is playing a rather, I mean, it's not the same show in the States, but it's a sister of. It's faster, it's more multi-camera, it's glossier, there are more aerials, there's more testimony, but it's the same show, and it's a classic, old-fashioned, presenter-led documentary with quite a lot of content. I think what you do have, certainly in the UK at the moment, I don't know if this is the case in Germany, is that in the UK there have been, in the last 6-9 months, there have been quite a few very formatted shows that have not worked on the broadcast channels, and I think that's probably where the hand of the maker has been very visible, and not just that, probably where not only can you see the hand of the maker, but the viewers don't quite understand why the maker's doing what they're doing. So these shows are constructed for no reason that makes sense. I'll show you the second clip, which is another show we've made, which is very much a formatted show, where the hand of the maker is absolutely evident. Yeah, it's been a big success, and I'll talk a bit about why I think that show hasn't died as a format. So we can show the second clip.
For thousands of people across Britain, someone is missing from their lives.
It isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about.
Major mystery for me is who is he, where is he, and what he turned into.
I want to know, does he want to be part of my life? Does he want to get to know his daughter?
But all too often, years of searching lead nowhere. Well, this is the series that steps in to help, offering a last chance to people desperate to find long-lost family.
This has been a long road.
Your son has been found.
Our searches have uncovered family secrets and taken us all over the world, finding people that no one else has been able to trace.
2 walks in a park, 2 different families.
Yeah.
And one incredible story. So all this time, she thought, he doesn't want to know me. You've been searching for each other.
And finally, answering the questions that have haunted entire lives.
I don't know if you can understand what that means. It's fantastic, fantastic.
So it's a show called Long Lost Family, which we just made for ITV, primetime show. Very, very successful, high 4 millions, being recommissioned for a 2nd season. It's a format, it's a Dutch format. It's been a Dutch format for 17 years, sold in some parts of Europe, had never spread any further. Largely, I think, it's a language. They only had language and budget, probably. It was a lower cost series in a different language. They got the series away in Australia. It was very successful on 7, a very commercial network. Australia is a very, very commercial television environment. So they finally had a rather glossier English language show, which we saw and loved, and always thought it was very mainstream, very ITV. So not only is it a format. It's not our format, sadly. It's a format we've taken for the UK. Not only is it a format, but it's evidently a format. You know, there are 2 hosts. There's a way the story unfolds. That there's the first time there's a letter and a photo. The meetings are kind of constructed in exactly the same way, and yet Long Lost Family has been a big success, whereas other similarly evidently constructed formats haven't been. And I think what's different about Long Lost Family is that the construction is visible, but the process is completely authentic. You know, we're not staging a rather kind of, you know, mind of the producer experiment. We are facilitating a search that these people have been doing, you know, and we are then putting a kind of superstructure around it. But the emotion the emotional journey is completely authentic and just overwhelming. You know, it's kind of, we always report shares in Kleenex and hand tissues because it's impossible to watch the program without brushing away a manly tear. And the reactions of the people are, it's completely genuine, and often in a kind of really sweet way. There's a moment in every show where we found your son, daughter, brother, sister, parent, and there's obviously there's then emotion, and then Nikki or Davina say, I've got a photo, would you like to see a photo? And they invariably say, oh, have you got a photo? And it's a bit like, why would we not have a photo? You know, it's like, of course we've got a photo. But the people are kind of incredibly open. But I think the reason that show, you know, is, I mean, I think Long Lost Family rather rebuts, you know, our format's dead. It's clearly a format. It's been an incredibly successful ITV show, and it's going to come back. But the reason it's worked is that it's a format in the service of something that's there already, rather than a format that's constructing something that's a bit the viewers just don't buy into. I mean, I think we always tend to think that viewers are, one of the things, viewers might not be incredibly academic, they might not have university degrees, but one of the things that television viewers by and large are very, very clever about is TV, because they watch a lot of TV. And they really know when something is just, you know, just a sort of a trivial invention. They really, and they don't come to it.
Mm-hmm. And when we talked before, we said that, I mean, wall-to-wall has a very good reputation, and still some formats die before they even have the chance to live. I think the pitching period for you is very important, where you can convince commissioning editors who want to have a certain predictability and stability, because formats, I mean, it's not like a one-off where you can say it's good and it's award-winning, but we need to have it long-running. How difficult is it for you to pitch new ideas and get the answer of a commissioning editor, yes, we do that format?
Well, I think to be honest, I think we're rather privileged in the UK. We have a very unique, broad, still, despite funding changes of our recession, there's still a very unique broadcast environment here, where factual television is absolutely the heart of mainstream television viewing, not on the sidelines. You know, Australia again, by and large, factual is on much lower watch public service channels and not on the commercial channels. So we have well-funded factual programming, but also, and this is a problem as a business, is that we have it's a very fast turnaround. You know, UK, you know, the great joy of getting formats away in America is that they don't commission 3 or 6, they commission 13 or 20, you know, in terms of business proposition. So that's a business channel in the UK. You're never going to get more than we do actually on Who Do You Think You Are? We've done 10 runs of 10, which is very long for a UK run. The good side of that is that there's a real turnover. There's a desire to, you know, what's next? What's the new thing? What's the next kind of show? Whether it's a format or not, whether it's a DocFest. So that allows UK to be very such a productive source of different and new types of programming, and to really, you know, if you look at all the statistics about sales of formats, that UK punches far above its weight because of that, I think.
And yet I think the ingredients are sometimes important for commissioning editor as well. For example, would you have commissioned a format where you say you have D-celebrities, very old people, an artificial setting and a scientific approach? Honestly?
Well, it depends who the D-celebrities are. Some of them work really well for us. We've got a show with Jodie Marsh that's airing at the moment, and it's doing incredibly well. And she probably doesn't even qualify as a D-celebrity. But no, I think that the kind of the middle bit of that, which is a kind of artificial setting, I think I think probably artifice is a bit dead, you know, the point that whatever you're constructing a television show around, it needs to genuinely exist is a point that, you know, really resonates with me, and I think it's something that we're constantly looking for when we're being pitched to. You know, gone are the days where you create a format and then have to go out and find the people. I know when I was a researcher, I spent a lot of time trying to find people who didn't actually exist to support the format that had been commissioned. And it was soul-destroying. But, you know, as a commissioner, you know, you want to know that those people are there and that that journey is real before you go into it.
And what about you, Floriana, for the ingredients? Are they shocking for you sometimes, and you say no and don't even give a format the chance to be born?
Probably yes. It's hard for me to admit, but yeah, if the protagonists are too old, if the idea is too well known, done too often, we would probably not even dare to start a development.
Thank you. And Jonathan, yet you developed a format that exactly had those ingredients, and it was really successful.
Yeah, I'm not sure we call it. I mean, this is a show called The Young Ones, which we made for BBC One. I don't think we developed it as a format. We developed it as a science stunt show, but it clearly has formatted, constructed elements. For those who don't know, it ended up being a 3-part stripped series on BBC One at 9 PM. It was based on a quite well-known psychological experiment at Harvard, where they took a bunch of 80-year-olds, put them in a house that was turned back 25 years and allowed them to no mirrors, photos of themselves in their 50s, and it's about aging and how old people perceive themselves. And we did it, and that was one of the format twists there, was we did it with celebrities. And it was an interesting case of, you know, there are no, perhaps no, but there are very few new ideas. It was not only were we looking at this Harvard experiment, but I think that at least 2 other people were pitching it at the same time to exactly the same commissioning editors, and we happened to have decided to do it with celebrities, which made it BBC One and added a whole level of kind of nostalgia, retro interest. So that clearly is a format that we could sell, you know, that we could sell the Bible, you know, how this show works to other broadcasters. Unfortunately, it's a format with 80-year-old people, which is, you know, it's which we pitched in the States only for the enjoyment of pitching to American broadcasters, where you're pitching them a demographic that they don't even know exists. You know, it's kind of, it's clearly a public service commission, I would imagine, and so far it's not been picked up as a format. But if anybody wants to, we'd love to make it.
Could it be attractive for your channel?
I'm afraid I couldn't know.
No, but it's important for formats, I think, with all the energy you put in and development and so on, that they can travel, that you can sell the Bible and then it can go abroad. But it's even for you, I mean, as head of Europe, and you told me that you're focusing on the Eastern market, for example. What are the shows that the East is interested in, for example, East Europe?
I guess the East is quite a different production environment than the other environments I work in. So we do look for formats predominantly where we have a production Bible and there is a bit of safety in terms of the proposition that we're entering into. That said, the formats that we're looking at are not the ones that are currently rolling out on screens across the rest of Europe. They're formats that possibly 5 to 10 years ago were big and long-running and successful, and we're looking at ways to kind of launch those in territories where they haven't existed before, but also tailor them to the local market. And we have made quite a lot of changes to formats that we've picked up in the East, partly because of different tastes, and also because of different production techniques.
And how about your channel? How important is it for you that the formats travel and go abroad?
Well, we had a certain time when we had one specific format with, you know, going abroad was crucial because it was actually the content of it. This was the big time of emigrant stories. It was an observational documentary. I don't know how this was in other markets. The idea of emigrants was very attractive for the German audience for about 2 or 3 years, but all of a sudden it stopped. So actually we were only accompanying, willing immigrants to abroad. Did documentaries on that, many of them. People loved it. And from one day to the other, I think it was a little bit kind of a copy problem. This idea was copied by many competitors, and from one day to the other, the interest stopped, and we had to close the format down. So now it's it changed.
So there's like, if it's an over, if you have too many cooking shows, too many immigrant shows, too many. Then that can cause the death of format.
I'm definitely sure in this German competitive market, copies kill a format very soon, and there's nothing to do against it. Nothing, except maybe on court.
I think we should now start the question and answer part of the session, and. Yeah? Do you like to? Okay. Do you have any questions to our speakers? 1 second, we have a microphone.
Thank you. Question for Jonathan. You mentioned some formats that had recently been failing on UK networks. Could you give some examples of them and why you thought maybe it was that they hadn't worked?
I think if you ask Channel 4, they'd probably think that Love Thy Neighbour didn't rate. They've got a show on at the moment called 4 Rooms, which is an antique show which isn't rating. It's kind of like a Dragon's Den. So I think there's just been at the same time as there have been several formatted shows that haven't worked. Clearly the standout success last year was Gypsy Wedding, which is. And what you also have now, which we haven't really talked about, are we mentioned earlier, The Only Way is Essex. I mean, The Only Way is Essex isn't a format, but it's a direct, well, not rip-off, but it's a British version of Jersey Shore. And they're now doing Geordie Shore. So these are scripted documentaries with drama. They're real people being placed in scripted situations, which is the latest iteration, I suppose, of formatted factual. It's not formats, but it's the latest iteration where, rather than just trying to make our documentaries as dramatic as possible, we're introducing drama. Drama produces drama storylines, which is clearly are successful. Whether it be interesting, it's clearly Gypsy Weddings was clearly successful on Channel 4. Whether something like The Only Way is Essex gets a huge amount of press, actually doesn't get huge audiences. But it's kind of captured. And it would be interesting if it were playing on a mainstream network. Would it get several million? I'm not sure it would. But this is part of, particularly in the UK, everything being cyclical. The different types of show eat themselves very quickly, and then there's need for new types of show.
Thank you. Any more questions? Or would you like to add something for the death of formats ahead? What is the prognosis for the future? What will survive?
Well, difficult question. I think that this is a little bit disappointing maybe for you, but I think that the cost factor is crucial for us for the future. the budgets get tighter and tighter, and I think that ideas which are in a reasonable, which can be realized with a reasonable budgets, have much bigger chances than these big, investments of the past. That is maybe one thing, and the other one I have mentioned before. If there is any idea which you can try out in an existing format, or people, persons, characters you can try out before, that make the risk lower for a broadcaster and easier for the producers.
Zara, what kind of formats would you like to commission this year, next year?
Well, I think, Jonathan mentioned the sort of cycle of television, especially in the UK, and I think for me it's important not to kind of be a slave to that cycle, and to ultimately look for programmes where there are genuine stories, fascinating characters, and, to work with producers who know how to turn out incredibly well-constructed, well-made programmes. For me, that's kind of the bottom line. And in terms of kind of narrowing it down into genre, of course we're looking in, as I said earlier, in all the kind of key areas. But ultimately, it's got to be a good programme with a really solid foundation of character, narrative, and something that genuinely exists and has some form of real jeopardy in it.
Maybe, Jonathan, can you tell us what are you working on right now that we will see next year, maybe?
Well, to be honest, we've never been very successful, and we've deliberately tried to create formats. I mean, the best shows we've done have come from thinking about interesting ways, which might be new ways, of telling stories about interesting subjects. So Who Do You Think You Are was that, and the House franchise was one of our earlier formats. Was what's a more interesting way of trying to tell social history in 1900 rather than interviews with experts and archive. And that's sort of what we do. I mean, other companies are much better at coming up with brilliant, factual, entertaining formats. And you sort of, I think, as producers, program makers, you sort of have to do what you're good at. You do what you do. So one of the joys of television is if you can sell it, you can make it. So we do a pretty broad range across from, and we're now moving actually into the real world of the format, which is entertainment. It's an area we've not been in before, but we are getting into now, and that is a kind of clearly an area that is the sort of king of formats, are all the big entertainment formats.
Do you think at the moment is it more difficult to pitch and to get formats commissioned, or what is the development? How is the reaction from the stations?
I don't think it's more difficult. I think it's always quite difficult pitching and getting anything commissioned. If you have a great show, then you go in. If it's a great format, then you might get a commission. I think if you were out pitching very overtly constructed social experiments, well, not social experiments, but shows that seem to have, where shows with the hand of the maker again is really visible. I think those would be quite hard to sell.
I have a small remark concerning the thing of pitching. We realized that pitching as a process became more and more crucial for the decision makers inside the channels, because we have centralized organizations now that mean, for example, that there is one editorial office serving 3-4 different channels, and so the decision making becomes more and more anonymous. The producers hardly ever get the chance to talk really to the right people in the very beginning, so their ideas must be very clear, must be easy to hand over to others. Like, for example, the best way at the moment is always pitch with pictures, with some screeners which already give an idea of the format. Because if you hand over a paper to the next person in charge, and this one will, you know, pass it on and pass it on and pass it on. The good idea, the spirit of an idea will get lost very easily. It's easier with a DVD, and it means some investment from the side of the producers, but it is worth it. I just can recommend that to anybody. Do you know? Do pictures, do screeners. That is a basic advice.
Thank you. Are there any questions left? No? Yeah.
Did you say that the Next Great Baker didn't work?
I wouldn't say it didn't work, but in terms of the success of, in comparison to the success of Cake Boss, it certainly, you know, has by no means broken out in the same way.
Now, why do you think that is?
I think it's very hard to say. I don't program for TLC in the US, so I will only talk for how it's done on the channels in the UK. But I mean, my personal opinion is Buddy is at his best in his cake shop. Apart from that, we haven't done many competition formats on our channels, so maybe our viewers aren't used to them.
When I looked at this Cake Boss, yes, we do sometimes documentaries in the field with bakeries and all these kind of things. I would like to know, did it work just in the States, or did it work also in Europe?
It's worked globally. It's worked in the UK. It's one of the top rating shows in Scandinavia, and I believe it's somewhere in Eastern Europe as well, although I couldn't say for sure.
Germany? Did it work in Germany?
I'm not sure that we air it in Germany. We aired it in the Netherlands.
Okay, thank you so much.
When you're looking for the next Cake Boss, would you expect the production company to find that person and send a taster tape in, as you suggested, or would a paper format be the first port of call?
When you're looking for something like Cake Boss, it's always better to see people on tape. I guess with a format or things that aren't sort of based on an actual precinct, I don't think for me tape particularly sells something. I'd much rather just the kind of top line idea. But certainly, you know, if a producer can come with tape when it's a character-led series, then that's going to help sell it through. That said, there's no reason the tape has to be glossy and shiny and not just something that they've shot themselves, because generally if someone's a good character, you can tell from something pretty basic.
Okay, and I think I want to thank my speakers. Thank you very much, and I would like to